So dream scenario: A&M goes on the road this weekend, beats Auburn. They beat UMass at home, who's one of the worst teams in the country. You would think A&M can handle them. And then A&M comes home winning 2 games in a row, and relative to the year, that's huge. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. App State proved that. But you come home with a 2-game winning streak. Imagine that the last game of the year, with a bowl berth on the line, with all the turmoil that's gone on throughout the year, with a chance to take out so much anger, so much pent-up frustration against LSU. Kind of the same way Edo did it to Texas A&M last year. Well, Texas A&M is 4 feet down in the toilet right now. Yes, they've been flushed along with all of our hopes and dreams as fans and as alumni. There's not much more to play for this year. It's been a nightmare season. I don't need to keep saying it. But for those of you that want to vent with me and just kind of get it out, this is the place to do it. So we're just going to vent here. We're going to talk about things that could make us feel better in the near future. And I'm going to vent a little bit more about Jimbo Fisher's press conferences because they still bother the shit out of me. And I'm still pro Jimbo in some regards. I don't want to fire him tomorrow. Maybe fire him soon, but not tomorrow, if you know what I mean. I'm not giving up on him just yet. I think that we need to give him a chance to make some decisions. But I still cannot stand the way this guy talks to the media, talks to us, talks to his investors, so to speak. So I'm going to highlight those 2 things. What can A&M do to make us fans feel better pretty soon, and maybe even better the landscape for Texas A&M going forward? Because right now, there are some problems in the landscape that actually Texas A&M was benefiting from a year ago. These same phenomena are still around, but now they're hurting A&M. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's just talk about how painful this season has been so far, because I just kind of want to get it out there. I want to reiterate some of the things that we're feeling. I want to twist the knife. Let's talk about it. And then you guys can comment what else is making you feel pain. So I have a list. It's a list right here. Y'all can't see it, but I have a list of things, aside from just losing and sucking. Maybe that's included, but aside from just saying that, these are some specific areas that are making me and many of y'all feel more pain as Texas A&M fans. First of all, every game that Texas A&M has lost this year has been close and within reason to have been won by Texas A&M. Yes, even the games where they were blown out, beat convincingly, Mississippi State, Florida, there were some extenuating circumstances that led A&M down the toilet. Versus Florida this last weekend, Texas A&M gave you a glimpse of competition in the first half, only for it to totally shut down in the second half. And maybe some of that was typical offensive woes. Something must be said for the plethora of missing players. Regardless, such a sharp decline within the game. Just another jab in the heart. Mississippi State, another blowout if you're just looking at the score. We all know that there were so many missed opportunities within this game that swung the game several times over. We've talked about it. We're not going to get back into it right now. But every other game came down to like the last quarter. Ole Miss, Alabama, App State, South Carolina. All close games. All painful. Missed opportunities, you know. That was the title of one of the Pulse videos. I haven't looked, but I wonder what the difference is in the Pulse views this year versus years past. It's probably really low this year. They do a great job with the Pulse, but it kind of sucks that it's going to go largely unappreciated this year. I guess this is backing things up to where I should have started this list off. But think about the expectations that were on this team by me, by you, by the national media, even those with the most conservative or bleakest outlook of Texas A&M for this season would never in their wildest dreams or nightmares have predicted they would be 3-6 at this point in the season. Even the biggest naysayers, even the worst of the worst, the ones that me, you, all of us were commenting on, you're so biased, you're so dumb, you just want A&M to fail. Even their expectations were higher than this. Even the downest of the downers on A&M. So if this isn't even meeting their expectations, I predicted 11-1 this year. And that was just because I couldn't pinpoint a second loss, but 10-2 was realistic. 11-1 was my schedule prediction this year. And I'm sure most of y'all were 9-3 or 10-2. Just having that as the baseline makes this that much worse. But not only us, not only fans and talking heads who aren't nearly as important as who's actually on the field, I wonder what these true freshmen, or even the non-true freshmen, the whole team, I wonder what they expected out of themselves this year. My guess wouldn't be 3-6. So more pain coming short of expectations. Now, expectations are what set the base, I just said the word, baseline, for all emotions and feelings for a football season, for life, for anything. Expectations. What is the reality versus expectations? And just to come up so short, more twisting of the knife. Another major issue, not necessarily to me as much, and I know this was a personal list, but this is what I hear all the time, and I understand it, I'm on board with it, but it's just the lack of results for the size of investment put into this program, and that's kind of been the case for years, but it definitely culminated in the hiring of Jimbo Fisher, and then doubled down by the re-signing, the premature, in hindsight, re-signing of Jimbo Fisher for whatever amount of money it's worth. When you make an investment, and it's not our money personally, maybe some of y'all's, I don't know who's watching this video, maybe it is your money, but most of us don't really have money in this game besides whatever we pay to go see games, but a lot of us are going to go see games whether or not the team is good or not. Regardless, there's a huge investment from a lot of people, monetarily, time. There's a lot of investment put into this football program and into Jimbo Fisher. And coming so short, not just short, but coming miles short of even the lowest expectations makes everything feel worse. I mean, it'd be different if this was just some throwaway experiment coach like Tom Herman. Okay, it doesn't work out, whatever. We'll do the buyout, we'll pay him a few million per year, and he's gone. Whatever. But when you have this investment, regardless of if it's your money or not, it just does make things feel worse. More pain. One of the more recent areas of pain that we're all facing, and this is where the nightmare really, really has been coming into fruition, and you're reaching to pinch yourself, but it's hurting, and you realize this really is the worst thing ever, and it's not a nightmare. Decommitments. There was one this week. You all know about it. Big position of need too. Number 1 linebacker, Anthony Hill. Yes, it's been a couple days. You've all digested it, felt it. Not only was he the number 1 player in this, how do I put this? Not only was he top of the A&M board, he was the top of the A&M priority list for the last 3-4 years, maybe the last 10 years in linebacker. A&M has desperately needed elite talent at linebacker. It seems like they've filled all the gaps except for that position, and they finally got someone, and he decommitted, and it sounds like there's not much of a chance for A&M to get back into the race for him. That's doubled down by the fact that the same thing happened last year with Harold Perkins, and he just goes off and gets Defensive Player of the Week for LSU, a rival that is thriving with a year 1 coach. So yeah, decommitments, first of many I would assume that are going to come. And I've been saying Jimbo right now is going to be defined by who he keeps on the team, and keeping commits will be a bonus. But this commitment class, this signing class, this 2023 class was already looking lackluster, so I didn't have super high hopes for it. But now it's looking like it's going to be abysmal. I mean, I'm sure Jimbo will close. I'm sure he'll find some players to fill the class out with. But as far as players that you need, I mean, when your class leader decommits, when the team is struggling so mightily, you have to assume there are more dominoes to fall, and not the good kind of dominoes. I love talking about the good dominoes. Like last year, the pool party was the first domino, and then all these dominoes started falling. It was great. All the rivals were sucking. It was great. But now A&M is on the other side of that coin. And rivals are thriving. As I just mentioned, Harold Perkins at LSU. What the hell? LSU, year one. They have a clear path to the SEC West Championship and to be playing in Atlanta in a couple of weeks. Very clear path. So Texas, I mean, they're doing fine. I wouldn't say they're doing great, but they're doing fine. Better than A&M by a good margin. Recruiting well. Oklahoma's kind of still not there. They're not there. They're still not a worry. But LSU and Texas, OU, they're kind of the regional recruiting rivals at the highest level. And two of them have really kind of taken a step forward over A&M this year, which sucks. But I would argue, and this is kind of transitioning into my next point, that A&M does still have a chance to combat this. Because let's break it down. Last year, Texas A&M, historic recruiting class. What was the landscape like that led to that? Texas was like a 5-win team, I think it was. A coach that was like kind of on shaky ground, first-year coach, not sure if Sark was going to work out. He had never worked out as a head coach before. So a lot of question marks floating over that program. LSU had to play the whole year with a coach that had no future there, with a team that wasn't good, but still beat A&M, but wasn't that good. OU got blindsided by the Lincoln Riley scenario. So those three regional rivals were all kind of scrambling, while A&M still relatively fresh off of the 2020 Orange Bowl win, the home win versus Alabama, the strength of the Houston recruiting area. A&M was able to totally thrive in that environment and come up with this top-rated class. But now, Texas A&M is the one in the toilet. Texas is rising. LSU is rising way farther than expected, and they should calm the hell down. And maybe we can help them calm the hell down, because guess what? Texas A&M still plays LSU to close the year. That's not news to any of y'all. We all know it. Is this game a rivalry or not? I think it's inching towards that. And by all reports, the protected rivalry A&M was going to get if the SEC opted to go for the 8 SEC game schedule, the protected rival was going to be LSU. Now, I don't know. That's obviously not confirmed. But that was mentioned by Ross Bjork. So is it a rivalry? Maybe. Kind of. It kind of is. Especially where it falls in the season. It's the last game of the year. It typically has quite a bit of meaning for one team at least. There have been some pretty extenuating games. Is that the right thing to say? Some pretty weird games. I mean, obviously a 7 overtime game. Last year was a weird game where A&M was the favorite. Looked like they were going to win, but then didn't. In Edo's last game. So when LSU rolls into town, do you think there will be a little bit of revenge on the mind of A&M? At least for the players that are playing. Or a little bit of chip on their shoulder that game? I hope so. But also A&M has 2 winnable, and I say winnable very loosely, but probably 2 of the 4 easiest games on their schedule are coming up before LSU. So dream scenario. A&M goes on the road this weekend, beats Auburn. They beat UMass at home, who's one of the worst teams in the country. You would think A&M can handle them. And then A&M comes home winning 2 games in a row, and relative to the year, that's huge. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. App State proved that. But you come home with a 2-game winning streak, and the game versus Florida proves that Kyle Field will fill up no matter what the hell's going on with the team. Because a 4-4 Florida came to play a 3-5 Texas A&M team, and 100,000 damn people showed up to that game. and were loud as hell. Imagine that the last game of the year with a bowl berth on the line, with all the turmoil that's gone on throughout the year, with a chance to take out so much anger, so much pent-up frustration against LSU. Kind of the same way Edo did it to Texas A&M last year. It just seems like a very feel-good scenario to me. I mean, that'd be delicious, little Tigers. I would love to prey on the Tigers and ruin their beautiful year. Now, they have to lose 2 games now to fall out of the race, I believe, for the SEC West. And they go and visit Arkansas and Fayetteville this weekend. So, talk to me, Piggy. Let's go. But anyway, they lose to Arkansas. A&M could ruin it for them and send Ole Miss to the SEC championship instead. I believe that's who it would. If I'm wrong, correct me. It's not really about who would go. It's about stopping LSU from going, because they're one of the regional rivals in recruiting. They're one of the teams right next door that are going from the exact same pipeline, the same cookie jar of players. And if A&M can somehow force them down a peg on their season, because even if they lose 2 more games, I think it'll still be looked at as a positive season. Would that be an 8-4 year for them? Not nearly the same thing as 10-2 though, or 9-3 instead of 10-2. But you really hope you kick them out of the SEC championship. It'll help with recruiting. It'll just help with the perception in the region, and it'll just kind of make A&M feel a lot better. Plus, you get to go bowling, and that's gonna, you have to go 3-0 to go bowling. So take LSU down a peg. Finish the year strong. And this works if you go into the last game with 1 win, with 2 wins, or 0 wins in those previous 2 games. But it really works best if you go in on a 2-game winning streak. That's what I want to see. And you know what? That might bring a little bit of joy back into the hearts of some A&M fans. Just a little spark of fun, a little spark of flavor. Because this season has been really, really unfun. I want to shift to what I mentioned earlier I wanted to talk about. And that's just a little bit more of the Jimbo Fisher talking to the media stuff. So my next talking point is Jimbo Fisher's talking points. And I'm going to highlight his most recent press conference, the Monday presser, where he's watched the film, he sits down with the media, and he does his Jimbo interview. I always call it an interview, but Jimbo presser. And I've always complained that Jimbo is the king of coach speak, and it kind of goes against my personal philosophies, where I'm always just like a say what you mean kind of guy. And I get you're being like, it almost feels like political with it, but you're being tactical. You don't want to reveal too much. You don't want to throw anyone under the bus. You don't want to insult anybody. You don't want to give anybody too much love. But he just does it to that highest possible level. But there were a couple things he said that kind of concerned me. And then I'll kind of tell you what I wish he would have said, or what I wish someone in Jimbo's position would be angling towards in his communications to not only the media, but to us and to his investors. Like I said, we're investors, whether it's investment of time, money, energy. Some people invest a shit ton of money into him. But yeah, there are a couple things he said. The first of which was, he was asked about, do you think strength and conditioning program or coach, I don't remember which one does the strength and conditioning program have any kind of responsibility towards the plethora of injuries that A&M has faced this year? I'm going to read you Jimbo's quote. When you break bones and the knee goes, that's not strength and conditioning. Our strength and conditioning program is state of the art. We have 3 guys out with turf toe. A finger can break on a helmet. I think it's all bad luck. That's paraphrased, but that's what he said. Is it really all bad luck? Okay, a couple of issues with the blurb. First of all, I think scientifically speaking, what you're saying is not true, because tired athletes are injured athletes. Tired athletes get injured quicker, more likely, than fresh, well-conditioned athletes. So if you're poor conditioned cardiovascular-wise, or your muscles are poorly conditioned, it's possible that you compensate with an inappropriate gait, a wrong step, an overcompensation, it's a chain reaction that happens within the human body. So maybe one or two broken fingers, sure, that's fluke stuff. But when you're talking about a bunch of knees and muscles and turf toe and things adding up across the board for the team, I mean, maybe some of it's youth, but to just totally absolve S&C of any kind of responsibility, it's a bit concerning for me. And not only for the given scenario of strength and conditioning and broken bones, but just the fact that you won't even, in a year where you're 3-6, you won't even acknowledge the possibility of evaluating this area that has been an area of concern, without question. Why would you not say something more along the lines of, you know what, we love our S&C program, but at this point in the season where we're 3-6, we're having to reevaluate every aspect of the football team, so I'll leave it at that. At least give us like an indication that you have an inkling that something you're doing might be wrong. And like I said, king of coach speak, maybe he does feel that way and this is just what he's saying. But damn it, we're investors and I wish we would have heard something better than that. The next thing he said. Okay, here it is. I'm reading off a page here where I copy pasted some of his quotes. Someone asked him, I don't remember who asked him, but someone asked him, when you are at this point, do you ever go back and kind of reevaluate the things that you're doing as the head coach or as a program? And he said, yeah, we reevaluate every year. We look at things every year. We self-evaluate every year. I get that you do that, and any good coach or program would. But then if you are doing that, why is your answer to the S&C thing an excuse? Why do you defend scheme, whether it's defensive coordinator scheme, offensive scheme? Why do you so adamantly and stubbornly defend it? Why can't you give an answer along the lines of what I said before? We're 3-6, the results are nowhere near where we want them to be. We're going to have to reevaluate every single aspect of the team. I mean, I would even go as far to say is no position safe. We need to look at every aspect of this team right now. I mean, you need to have, I want a little bit sense of urgency. And I'm not asking for panic, but a little more urgency and a little bit more willingness to acknowledge the deficiencies, or at least acknowledge the possibility of deficiencies within what you're doing, would be nice. Remotely acknowledge it, man. Just a tiny bit. Just a tad would be so nice. And I get defending your employees. You're the CEO. You're the head man. You're not going to throw anyone under the bus. But when you're 3-6, your investors do want to hear a little something, a little inkling. So I guess that's venting on my part, because what do y'all think about those quotes? They concerned the hell out of me. But then again, I'm contradicting myself because I acknowledge that Jimbo is just a coach speaker, so take it with a grain of salt. But it still bothers me. But yeah, I'm just venting at this point, guys. There's not much of a point I can even make anymore on this team, on this season. We know what it is. It's a team that seemed unready for a football season, whether it's poor coaching or lack of experience. Hint, hint, it's both of those things. A better coach makes this team better. A more experienced team makes this coach seem better. And when they're both so low, you get what you get this year. But I'm venting about this stuff. And there's no good point to make. So with that, I'll leave the floor to you guys. Do you have anything you want to get off your chest about this program and team? That's basically what I just did for about 25, 30 minutes. What are your issues besides things that I've said? Or do you want to elaborate on anything that I said? Jimbo's interviews are frustrating the hell out of me, man. They really are. Oh, and also comment maybe what your light at the end of the tunnel might be. What are you looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the potential of beating LSU. I would love to end the year 3-0 and get into a bowl game, but I would have loved to end the year 6-0, 5-0, 4-0. It's not happening. So these next two games are super manageable. I would be so happy to go into Kyle Field. I'll be at that game regardless, but to go to that game on a 2-game winning streak with a chance to extend the season and screw with LSU, oh, so juicy. But guys, thanks for listening to this vent session on Texas A&M. Check me out next time when I actually cry tears of sadness after we lose to Auburn. I'm just kidding. We might win. Gig 'em. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing. It helps me greatly. And if you're already subscribed, hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Thanks, guys. I'll see you very soon.